Alrighty, and welcome to the Data and API show. It is so great to have everybody here. Everybody who is choosing us over the Apple live stream, which is happening right about now. Those guys don't know what's going down. Like, this is where real content is happening. So we appreciate you choosing wisely, choosing us. That's very nice today. I am joined by a special guest today, as we usually are. Colin, welcome to the show. Nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And Colin, you are from Clerk. Why didn't you give everybody a quick breakdown on who you are, a little bit about the company, which we'll go into more detail in a little bit, but just so we can kind of have a bit of a overview before we get into the show, because it's a packed show today.
Awesome. Yeah, sure. So my name's Colin. I'm the co-founder of Clerk.dev, and we help developers set up, sign up, sign in, and manage user profile to new applications. So I think we're going to get a chance to go through that today and see just how easy it is and how to hook it up to Hasura.
Yeah, because you promised me that like 20 minutes or something like that, like we were going to have it.
We're going to get through it. Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Let's get this kicked off then. Before we do that, I do want to have a couple of announcements. I'm just going to bring my screen up here real fast because I would have many people yelling at me if I was remiss to announce that today we announced HasuraCon CFP. So if you use Hasura, if you like Hasura, and if you're in this live stream, like that's probably you. So we would love to hear what it is that you have to share about the actual experience you have with Hasura, things you're building, things that you like about it, tips and tricks, anything. We have some guidance around like topics to help inspire you if you aren't quite sure what you'd want to share, but you want to share something. Definitely click on the Speak at Hasura button. And then there'll be a whole bunch of steps and guides and explaining kind of what it is we're looking for, and we'll be there to kind of hold your hand the whole way through. So that is our CFP announcement, but you're not here to see the CFP slide. You can do that later on. Right now, we are going to have a look at how to get super fast authentication with Clerk, and specifically for Next.js, if I understand correctly. Is that what the goal is?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Now, while we're doing this part, maybe you can kind of explain a little bit what's the sweet spot where Clerk sits, because there's a couple of auth providers out there. What's the sweet spot where people would choose Clerk over Auth0, Ori, Okta? I'm trying to think of other ones, but yeah. Like why Clerk?
I think the biggest thing is that we're really built for the modern web stack or the jam stack. And so I think everyone has a sense for what that means, right? It's using Next.js, it's using tools like Hasura. This new ecosystem that I think is empowering the front-end developers to do more. With Clerk, I think our greatest feature is still like a front-end developer can set it up completely. You don't need any help of a back-end developer. But we're really just working we're working to integrate with the tools in this ecosystem as best possible, and that's our focus.
Cool. All right. Let's have a look at it. I clicked on the wrong button, so I'm going to switch that back to the way we had it. Because I think that promise of a faster or a fast way to get started, especially for people who are kind of like, I just want to kind of see if this concept has legs, right? I don't want to stand up a massive stack that will scale to trillions, enterprise. Because Clerk has that roadmap for you. Like you can definitely scale and upgrade and go down that path.
Yeah, we scale with you. All of our infrastructure is serverless, and we will handle any surge you need. So yeah, and I think beyond that too, I think developers like the degree of professionalism that you kind of get out of the box with Clerk versus if you're using something where you have to design it yourself. Like I think user management is a place where developers tend to cut corners getting started just because they're more focused on their app, rightfully. And really streamlining auth is tedious and it takes a lot of time, and so they end up just cutting a few corners to get something launched. With Clerk, we're saying, we'll be faster than whatever you can do, even with cutting corners, and it'll end up looking better.
Nice. even with cutting corners, I like it. Yeah. So we have the Clerk interface here. What I'm going to do is just jump over real fast to the Hasura project first, so we can kind of see the data model we're going to be working with, and then that'll make sense, I think, to
Awesome.
connect. From the Hasura side, this is the part that everybody in this stream probably knows already. But essentially, what we have here is a Hasura cloud project, nothing fancy. The only thing I want to point out is that I have added a database connection URL. This is from DigitalOcean. It's just got the password string and stuff like that, so I'm not going to expose that live. I'm going to just quickly scaffold this out to a project. So it's an existing database. It's got existing tables, all the kinds of data we would want. And so I'll head over here to the data tab. And I'm going to just pop in this as my data source and let Hasura populate my API for me. So using environment variable there, so pgdb, and then we'll just connect that. It'll look to DigitalOcean. It'll grab the pieces that I need, and we'll head over and just track the tables real fast. So we've got all the tables. Yes, go ahead and track all of those, and then we'll actually track all the foreign key relationships as well, and then have a quick look at the actual tables. So the basic idea here is a common swag store or general e-commerce model. If you're watching from the actual Hashnode hackathon right now, this is a really great workflow to be adding in if you're wanting to add auth to your project you're submitting. So here we have a really common model of the store user, products, order items, inventory, address. I'm curious about this store user one because this is going to be where we have interesting integration with Clerk, because you also have a store model on your side. We have a store model, a user model on this side. So we're going to see how this kind of connects, which will be interesting. But that being said, our Hasura part is done, at least in terms of the API. So we can just verify that everything is connected. Yeah, so we have relations, we have pieces we need. So that part, the database to API is ready. So we can head back over now and dig into the Clerk side. So here I've got the onboarding screen. I literally signed up, and this is what you get when you sign in for the first part, right?
Yep. And yeah, I mean, it's really your choice at this point. How do you want people to sign into the application? I think
I'm not going to add MetaMask right now, just because.
I think that's fair. I would recommend Google, probably Google or Twitter. One of the OAuth ones is generally my preference to make things go a little faster. But
Discord's cool. We got Discord.
Really your choice.
All right, so I can just kind of click on the ones that I want, which is like kind of crazy how easy that is to just choose the ones that I want. All right. Do I need to follow any naming convention or just whatever makes sense to me?
You're all set there, yeah.
All right, let me go ahead and hit add application here. And cool. Oh, nice confetti. This is all real take, everybody. This is not like I'm new here, so this is real time. All right, we've got a project here, and I want to start building with next. So I'm guessing I can just click on it right down there as kind of a guide.
Sure. Yeah. And I just go to read guide. We'll do a we'll start with create next app. The other flow kind of lets you download a full repository, but yeah, I prefer to just start with create next app.
So fortunately, I do have a terminal ready to go and a folder ready to go. So we'll just go ahead and kick that off into there. Oh, it actually copies both.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Maybe because I did like a string thing as opposed to, you know what? I'm a developer. I'm able to figure out how to delete strings. So we'll call this project the Clerk swag. Doing its thing. While it's downloading, kind of probably have to come back here and have a look at what the next steps will be here. So it's going to walk us through getting into the application, and then it's going to have us installing the actual Clerk CLI. Is that a CLI then?
It's an SDK, I guess.
SDK, yeah. Sure. That's right. Sorry. Yeah. It's late over here.
No problem.
Let's go ahead and kick those cookies here. So yeah, we can go ahead and just grab this and head back over to there. Cool, nice. So we can go ahead and CD into there, add the SDK, back, see what the next steps are. Now we need to set the Clerk front-end API environment variable. Go to the Clerk dashboard, select your application. I wonder if I can boost that font size here a little bit for people. Can I pop this out? Does that collapse?
Give it a try. We're using Gitbook. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they do have that. I wonder if it's like hidden at the bottom when it's at the right size. No. All right, so we'll just that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll live with it. All right, so we'll go to the dashboard, and we're going to probably need this environment variable, I guess. So select your application, copy the front-end API key field from the development instance homepage. Okay, let's go ahead and head over there.
I'm a little concerned. We might have just moved this. Yeah, click in here and scroll down. Yeah, you might have to go to the API keys on the left-hand side.
API keys. All right, nice. So we got the back-end API keys.
We'll grab the front end at the top for the first part of this.
Okay.
And then
where am I going to put this?
So it's just .env.local in Next.js. All
right. Looks like it's potentially an issue with, it was just a bit hung up there. So we'll just go ahead and what's the fast way? PB copy to .env or PB board? Is it PB board? Maybe I shouldn't even do this. I'll just make a new env file here.
I'm a VS Code user.
I am too, as it clearly shows.
Command myself.
PB copy, I think, is the one. I think it's the one.
Well, we need the prefix though too. So it's next _ public _ clerk front end or clerk _ front end.
This needs to go into the local one, right? It needs to go into the okay. So we're going to go ahead and just do a quick rename on that, the env file to .env.local, and that's the Next.js thing, right? Because they say that .envs are generally available secrets that you check into your repository, .env.local being ones that are specific to this local environment, and then we would do that. So we're going to go ahead and just embarrass myself even some more with my attempts to do a bit of Vim work here. So that's going to be what we want to do.
This to next _ public and then _ clerk _ public _ front end _ API. So it's next public clerk front end API and
next public clerk API.
Front end API. And front end is all one word. But and so what next public is doing there, and that's all set. But what next public is doing there is it's making it so that it's accessible to the front end.
That could go in .env then, right? Because that's not actually a secret.
Well, I guess I look at .env as something that might be cross environment, like used in production as well.
And this won't be in production.
Yeah, correct. It won't be in production. In production, you have a different one that's specific. So basically, every developer often too sets up their own environment with their own set of users on a team. And then in production, they have just the production user base.
All right.
That's all that set up for now. We can jump back to the docs probably.
All right, so we got the front end API key, which was just located underneath API keys, but that's like totally, easy. Here's the steps that we just did, talking about the next public part, and that next public is a like you were saying, it's a safety guard from Next framework to say you can't actually access an environment variable in the client side code that is not prefixed with next _ public. They have a bit of a guardrail there to keep people from doing dumb things.
Exactly.
All right, so we got the next public clerk front end API. Cool. Could have copied that, saved some typing, but it's fine. And we got everything that we need there basically to do what we need. So essentially, at that point, we could just boot up the local environment. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So we'll just go ahead and run this.
And at this point, we've installed the dependency, but we haven't installed Clerk yet. So we should just still be seeing the hello world from Next.js.
Mm-hmm.
And the next step is to actually install Clerk. So I think if we follow the step in the guide, we're basically going to take this and make it so you can only access it if you're signed in. But at this point, I believe we can keep it running until we get to the Hasura setup.
Yeah, I just wanted to open up a code editor here because I too am just a man
not
that has
too
no idea how to use Vim like the cool kids.
I'm very envious of those developers. They're very fast.
Right? I always get as far as like this is how to learn Vim if you don't know how to use Vim tutorials. Like the first, like I've gone left, right, up, down, and then I basically quit. So I'm like, oh, actually, I'm not being paid right now to learn how to use Vim. Funny enough. All right, so we've got the interface here. We can go back to the docs. So we have essentially then adding Clerk providers. So we're going to just snag this and wrap. This is an app.js here, right?
Yeah, actually, if you want, I think there's another snippet below that you can copy the whole. Scroll down a little further. We'll take this requiring authentication snippet. This is
so
kind of
this one here.
Yeah, rather than build up, I can kind of talk through the full snippet.
Yeah, let's do it that way. All right, so I'm going to just snag that and move back over into the app file, and we will just, I can just replace the whole thing, I suppose.
Let's go back and leave the style import. Let's leave line 1, but everything else we'll need. Cool. But yeah,
but we got people here that care about, relative versus absolute imports, order of imports and stuff. So we'll just help all the senior engineers out there relax. Good. All right, so let's have a look at walk me through the code here. What's happening here? Let me go ahead and bump the font size a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess what we did with this snippet was try to just give people a foundation for like a standard authenticated app where some pages are public and others are private. Right now, we have it configured so that there are no public pages. So if you look at line 11 there, it's just an empty array. But then if you, I guess, scroll down to this return statement, you can kind of see what we're doing with it. So the is public page, I guess line 18 right above it, is just checking, is the current page we're on from the Next.js router included in that public pages array? If it is, we say it's a public page. And in our return statement there, we just pass through the raw Next.js page component. If it's not,
and that's not magic. That's not Clerk magic. That's JavaScript magic. Just saying, hey, if this path is inside of this route, like just give me a Boolean value so that my UI kicks in where it's expecting to have an authenticated environment or is expecting to ask for authenticated content.
Well, so that's just saying if it's a public page, then Clerk is out of it. We let it render. We don't kind of interrupt the rendering chain at all. It just goes, and that's important for SSR and search indexing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if it's not a public page, then Clerk comes in with this other snippet where we wrap the component in signed in, which basically says only render the children if there's actually a user signed in. And then underneath that, we have signed out. And if you're signed out, we go to redirect to sign in. And that, to start at least, is going to be a Clerk hosted sign-in page with kind of the settings you set early on. So if you give that a save and then Next.js, and it's incredibly fast. So the second you shoot back, you're already on your sign-up page or sign-in page. And yeah, you can go through with however.
So now here, I would need to do the sign-up flow, right?
Yeah.
And I can go ahead and sign up with GitHub here. We'll go ahead and authorize.
So in development,
Do I
that's
trust it?
yeah, and well, so there's no fancy permissions on it. It's just profile. But in development, that's a shared instance that kind of every developer uses. In production, we require you to set up your own OAuth application, and then the other case is like in development, if you need more than just the basic profile information, like if you want to read someone's repository or push to it or something like that, then we force you to set up a custom application as well. So those default ones, they're great to get started if you're just using it as a social login, but if you need more permissions, you need to build your own OAuth client in GitHub or register your own OAuth client in GitHub.
Okay.
But yeah, nice. So now we're signed in so we can see this page again. And I guess, yeah, I think the next fun thing to do here, if you wanted to shoot back to the code, we can import something called a user button from Clerk Next.js. And you can just drop that, I don't know, like right under the, oh wait, sorry. We should do this in index.js instead of app.js. I guess it, yeah.
Does it actually have typing support?
It does. Yeah, you might need to set up.
I don't have a TS page here at the moment, so it wouldn't really. Okay, so I got user button.
And then you can just drop it right under the H1. It's typically where I do it for this demo. And we can flip back. Yeah.
There's a bald head right there. Ooh, and I can click on it and it does stuff, and I can go to manage account and I'm taken to a hosted page.
Yeah. So
where I can like do stuff.
You can do anything you want. Yeah. The whole user profile. I think this is kind of, and there's 2FA under security there too. This is kind of the big, device verification is there as well. So if you sign in on another browser right now, a second one will pop up. You could sign out of it. I know where
can you eject that? Can you revoke that device and say, hey, this device needs to go away? Everybody knows my IP now. Great.
But yeah, I mean, this is like it's 23 after now, so this is kind of
crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, we got login, we got the access. Like this is now we have authenticated pages with social sign on. We have a profile page. We have widgets to actually like go in and view the current logged in user. Yeah, that's kind of wild. That's actually, and then you got the back button and everything in place. So, I mean, like if you're wanting to just boot something up and get like going just fast, if nothing else, that is a really compelling use case. So like hackathon users, like for all the people that can use it, that's really cool. Like you could be the guy that's just, or the person who's just like, oh, I'll take care of the auth. And they're like, you sure? And you're like, yeah, you got it.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what else can we do with this information?
Well, let's set up Hasura now. I think that
sounds good.
That's the next thing, right? Yeah. So
that's probably back on this page, and I'm guessing somewhere around integrations.
It's actually in JWT templates.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, there's two things that are good guesses, but we're going to consolidate down to one soon. Sorry.
But you've already got us in there, so that's nice.
Exactly.
So we can just click on Hasura, yeah.
And really, we could just save it, but let's just scroll down and spend a second.
Okay. So we got token lifetime. That's great. This is I'm guessing that's refresh token life. Oh, that's actually that's the actual the authentication token. The refresh token's longer. This is the actual expiration time for the token itself. Okay.
Yeah, so we keep that short, and then we offer, we give you a function to actually retrieve it, and we handle all the caching and all that to make it easy to access it. in the front end.
So clock skew, is that basically just allowing for drift between server time and local client variables? Like it could just be that there's somebody's machines, they're using Windows, they're not like synced up, and
Yeah, it in practice has come up like twice, where if someone's server has a slightly different clock than everyone else's, but generally speaking, 5 seconds has been great. So yeah, you shouldn't have to edit either of these.
Okay.
And
Sensible or reasonable defaults. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the claims here, these are really from Hasura's documentation. So Hasura is great in our minds because they support JWT authentication. And we just need to kind of populate a couple extra claims. Those are the ones listed here. And we'll stick with just the default user role for now. We add in this Clerk user ID. But once we do this, then in Hasura, in like the permissions tab for tables, we can set up access control such that like only the current user can edit a row that has their user ID, something like that.
So let's try that. So we've got the ability here. We're gonna get the user ID from Clerk's environment being passed along. But what I need to do is be able to somehow write a user's ID back over to Hasura to make that lookup. So we have that.
Set. We can just click save here.
Apply changes, I guess.
Oh, yes. We'll get that fixed.
All right, cool. So we have this, yeah.
And yeah, so I guess on the
this is what I add to Hasura underneath the JWT, because you got the well, this is actually the template. So do I have
yeah, so we need to go
what do I add? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
We need to go to your configuration for the database and set the JWT secret, the Hasura GraphQL JWT secret.
Mm-hmm. Which value should I take with me for that? Do you have a well-known URL or
in our docs? There's a Hasura section that will help people with this step. Yep, that's them. But depending on if they're using core or cloud, this has the value. So I think you're on core, or are you on cloud?
I think you mean Hasura or I'm on cloud, yeah.
Okay, so then I guess if you scroll to the cloud section,
it's Hasura Cloud. So I just need to provide the well-known URL where I swap out my front-end API with the path. So I just set that. Yeah, so I just set that there, and I can head back over to the project console here underneath environment variable. So just go ahead and add an environment variable. So we'll go ahead and grab the JWT environment variable, and then we're going to paste that in there. And then I need to paste in that same API that I had a little bit ago, right?
Yeah, so you can grab it from your .env.local or from the Clerk dashboard, either way. Oh, perfect. Great.
All right, so that should be it. Just a well-known URL, and
exactly.
It'll validate as well when you save that. For those that are curious and watching, it does a self-validation to see if that actually works or not. So it seems like it did. So it's great. So we have the environment variable set up here, which is essentially everything we need. I'm wondering if that's just dirt on my screen, or I thought it was a comma instead of a period. It's a period. It's just dirt on my screen. All right. So we have that. And now what?
Now, well, I guess we need a
like a webhook or something, or
client. How do we want to make a query to Hasura? I guess we should we should pick a table that we want to insert into with the user ID set.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to think what's going to be the smartest path. Do we need to have like a webhook set up first? So when I create a new user at Clerk, that writes the ID over to.
You do not.
What is
and
that work?
I mean, that's kind of one of the really cool parts of using Clerk. So ultimately, we give you a use session and use user hook that you can kind of from your front end grab any data you need from the user object. The way to retrieve the Hasura token is on the use session hook. And basically from that, on the insert line or on the insert statement, we can configure Hasura to pull the user ID out of the JWT and assign it to a user ID column. And there's no actual need to have all of the user data in your own database. Most people, I mean, it turns out that on your backend, you very rarely need like the user's first name.
So you're saying that, assuming that the only situation where I would actually need a user table on my side is if I'm trying to persist some additional metadata or something that for whatever reason I just wanted to own it. But if I'm like creating an order, for example, well, I'll just add that ID anyways.
Yep.
And then in the future lookup, well, that ID is already there and I have my ID locally.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's try this. I'm trying to think through if there's any smart way to try to make our life a little easier, or if we're just going to stick with using a basic fetch request. It's probably the easiest way for the sake of removing any complications. Yeah, we can try that.
And say you can pull in a GraphQL request or something, but I mean, fetch is fine.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think if I want to pull out. Let me just scaffold here real fast. So we're going to go ahead and make a quick lib folder. And I'm going to just grab some code that I have from another project.
Great.
And then what I'm going to do is open up another example here where I will, I'm going to actually find it off screen, then I'll put it back on screen so everybody can see it. But I will use this code is available inside of the Magic Phrase project. Let me just pull this open here. I need to open the folder. Here we go. Almost there. All right, I think this will give us the majority of the code that we need here. So essentially what I'm going to do is I will grab GraphQL. Go. Got this weird groups thing going on here. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Let me go and zoom out here a little bit so maybe I can find my way here. That's just complicated. One more time.
I think we're just looking for like any kind of insert into.
Yeah. Ultimately,
ideally,
this just has some. Yeah, this just has some cool code here that is interesting. I have no idea where this group functionality is coming from. That's kind of interesting. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just close down.
Embarrass ourselves when it comes out that we don't know VS Code either.
Right. I've actually never seen that group functionality. Okay, so we got here. I'm going to go ahead and grab from the code gen here. Okay, so we're going to copy this over. We're gonna just do this kind of a sneaky way here. I think. Oh, maybe we'll just do this the traditional way. Yeah, I'm not gonna sweat this. Because I would have to actually go through and set up a few more things, and that's not going to teach anybody anything. Okay. If you're curious about GraphQL code gen, I have streams on that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and go into index here, and let's just try to make a button that will create an order.
Perfect.
All right, so what we're going to do is add a button here underneath. I'm trying to see if I can somehow pull up both a little bit. Can I kind of do this here? Let's see if we have enough here to put it up side by side to get some kind of. We'll switch these up here a little bit. Move some of the screens around here. Unfortunately, having prefers reduced motion is not going to help you at this point in time. There we go. All righty. So we have our interface, and now we will just add some quick bits of code here. I'm going to just gut out the grid here.
Yep.
So we have essentially, this should be enough to get us kind of up and running. All right. So we're going to go ahead and say something like button. Say create order. All right, so we have a nice button there. Well, it's a button. We can determine how nice it is or not. And then we need to import a use session thing you were saying, right? So we can actually get our context.
Yes, so use session. And then we want to just do const get token. I guess it's in
is it a named export or?
Yeah. Equals use session.
Mm-hmm. And get token is a function, or?
It is a function that basically we want to call it in line with the fetch. And so I guess we'll define the callback for clicking the button.
Does that have an exported value on that, or?
Yeah, so I guess let's make this async first.
Make it async? Okay. Buttons async. That works, right?
Yep. And then I guess it's not a named export. We could just call this Hasura token. And then here we pass in a named argument called template, and then the string Hasura, which is what we named it in the dashboard.
Got options?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now, so this ultimately gets passed into the authorization header with the fetch to Hasura to create the.
So we will do essentially a fetch now. So we'll say something like fetch, and then I can go ahead and grab my information from Hasura here, which is my API. And I will need, I'm guessing, to let's go ahead and make this a post. Will I need to make my orders table, for example, in this case? Will that need to be an open insert because there's not an authenticated incoming?
No, so we can go into Hasura and set the permissions on the table. So we can set a column preset. I suppose it might be an open insert. I'm not totally familiar with that.
Is that just user is the role we had defined, right?
Yes, user is the role. and then we can set a column preset for your user ID column.
Or with custom check.
Yeah, so I guess we would do equals in that with custom check.
So it's going to be the ID, or I need to put a user ID, store user ID in this case, equals the Hasura user ID.
Exactly.
And then I need to pre-fill store user ID. Not that. I need to pre-fill store user ID with from session variable, and in this case, user uppercase ID. It's uppercase ID.
Correct.
Okay. So then I want to allow them to be able to well, in this case, there's actually nothing interesting on the order, but that is fine for now, I guess. Yeah, because all these fields will be automatically created as soon as they actually do that, and then we can query them to see if we actually have access to them. We can insert products that they've ordered, and we can do a test mutation to actually create an order to see how that would work. I'll save this for the moment. Let's go ahead and create an API test that we would want to actually perform for a mutation statement. We can just test it out here. So we'll do a mutation, insert order, and then we will say insert order 1, and then we will say order items. I'll need an ID of an order item, or of a actual product. So order items. We'll do oops. So order 1, what are my options here? I got order items, which is what I want. And then the products, do I have product? It's order items again, I think. Product ID, okay. And that's where I would need to insert a specific product ID. Is unhappy. Yeah, okay. That's just bad naming on my part from then it's going to be a string here. So then the return value. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Sometimes I'm really dumb. I gotta put this inside of the actual data payload here. So we're gonna just yank all of up to here, I believe. I'm just gonna write this again from scratch. Okay, insert data. And then we have the actual object that we're inserting. There we go. And then we have the order items that we're creating. Data field. And then it's product ID. And then we need to return the actual statement. Sometimes it just gets too late for me with these shows, man. And then we're going to go ahead and return back just the ID of the order we're creating. And that will create some orders for us. And then we can actually test to see what the, to see the actual order items. Yeah? You have a comment?
I guess I'm hoping we can test this without the session. I'm not sure.
Well, it's just to get a valid syntax. It's not, we don't have to actually,
okay.
We don't have to do the actual thing. So I'm going to grab, I'm second guessing my model. I'll put this in there for now. I almost want to say that it actually is the order item. So my model's wrong. It should be the SKU ID, should not be product ID, but we're going to have to live with that for now. So it should go to the SKU ID and not the product ID. I'll have to fix that data model, but that's fine. It works for what we're trying to do. So this would be a valid query or valid mutation to insert an order. So we can take that over to the front end. And this will automatically get from the front end, it'll automatically insert our user ID into the user column, into the store user ID column of the orders table with our currently authenticated user. At the same time, it'll also create this order items entry.
Yep. Let's try to run it.
Cool. Let's try it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and run back over to the dashboard here, and we can go ahead and close this thing out because that's not useful here. And so now what we need here is I'm going to just put in the actual body here. We can go back to adjust the headers in a second. So the body will need to be JSON stringify. And we need to put in the query, which we can do like this. And then we need to tell it that it's application JSON.
And then we're going to need an authorization header as well here. I think we need a headers wrapper around this because we're just raw fetch, right?
Yes, I think it supports just headers like this though.
Huh.
If memory serves, we can try it out. So I've got the Hasura token in context here. So what do I do with the Hasura token? This is just my bearer token?
Exactly, yeah.
And does it actually have the bearer concatenated, or is it just bearer and then...
We have to manually concatenate bearer here.
So basically that.
Perfect.
Oh, all right. So we have a handler that's connected. And we'll go ahead and attempt to...
Oh, it's not connected.
It's not connected. Yeah.
You need to set it on click.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so theoretically, because if I'm not checking it, it will for sure not work. So I'm going to open up the network panel here already, and we'll see what happens. So we'll go ahead and try creating an order. So we got the GraphQL request. We got the it went out. So origin data.
Well, that's
so right. Set insert order 1 code validation failed. It may need to be open. I may need to open up the orders table, is what I'm thinking. Let me so I go back to the permissions here for the
oh, that's it. You're saying,
yeah, permissions here, because I don't have permissions to insert. So, and I think I need to be able to select with the permissions as well, because it's the reading, because there's no reading permissions currently set for user. User's not allowed to read, which doesn't work in GraphQL land. So I need to say with a custom check. So this is actually a good thing. It should not have worked. Equals the user ID. So now I can actually read anything that I've wanted as a return response from the table. So inserting it, I've got custom rules, and selecting it, I've got custom rules. I think I don't need update let me go ahead and try that again now. And we're going to go ahead and try this again here. So what do we have now? So errors.
Field order items not found.
Which, well, so this is, oh yeah, because so this is again where, you know, you should actually think through your data model before you try to build stuff. What I need to do now is also say that, and this is kind of cool. This shows off some of the power of Hasura, which is actually kind of cool. So we can say is that on the select here, we can say that the user, so we have custom checks again. So where the order store user ID equals the pass in here, and they're allowed to read everything as well. So this is saying now that the user who's currently gone in there is also able to read everything that they're currently inserting as well. So this should allow them to be able to access that content. I don't think I need insert permissions. No, I will for sure, probably.
I wonder if the address, well, we can continue debugging.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I need the to insert for order items because I'm trying to do. Yeah, so now I have to go ahead and allow the insert. Now on insert input, it's not available because it's no permission. So I need to go ahead and allow this for user as well. So we'll say insert, and we will say with same custom checks as select.
Does the address table? I'm just wondering, maybe the address table just has a user ID on it, and then we can perhaps
more simple.
I mean, I don't know the data structure actually. So if there is a user ID on address, maybe we can just try to get a single insert into that table instead of kind of working across tables here, because I think I don't know that error.
Let me just go ahead and modify this here real quick.
Sure.
I think this was the issue, is because I was trying to insert something that I didn't have permission to insert on. I didn't say that I could insert it, and so then the field would not show up because it doesn't expose if it doesn't exist. So let me just try this again here, and we go down to that GraphQL.
Now you're expecting a UUID on. So that is, so your data structure has a UUID type on the user ID.
Oh, and you're inserting string.
And we're a string. So we could probably just write a quick query to change that.
Well, probably the easier way is just for us to add a clerk ID column and just change our permissions real quick. I would think in this case, for us to be able to modify that fast enough. So I'll go to the order item here, or go to order, because there's a lot of relations between different things right now, and so that would probably break if I were to do that. So we'll go ahead and put in a clerk ID field here.
Got it.
And we'll do type text, and we'll go ahead and say it's fine. So we'll go ahead and it needs to be unique, and in this case,
probably does not need to be unique.
No, right? Because it's going to be multiple orders coming in. So we'll go ahead and say, we'll just leave it like this. So clerk ID. And then that actually was the only one we needed to modify in terms of the column support. Permissions will need to modify the insert.
Yeah, the preset.
So column. This now needs to match, this now needs to be the clerk ID. So that should work there now. And they are allowed to set inputs for, well, it's a default value. down here.
Yeah,
So we save this back to clerk ID now. Okay, so that should be what we need for the insert. For select, we need to just modify that to being clerk ID here. Save that permission, and then on the order item, it's the same. So on the permissions for insert, needs to be clerk ID here. Okay, so, and just to clarify for those that are still watching, the issue was that we had a UUID type for that column, which then gets rejected because what we're sending in is a text type, and that was why it doesn't like it, because it's not a compatible text string. And select, we'll add that real quick, even though I'm not even selecting the order items, but we'll just go ahead and modify that while we're here. All right, so with that in place, let's see what we get for our next attempt here. So we'll create an order. So what's it not happy about now? Constraint violation, null value.
Just set that nullably.
Yeah. So we'll just come back over to here. We'll go to the order. We'll go to the modify store user email. Make that be nullable. Anything else that's going to be mad at me about that? We just have a quick check here.
Next time.
So ID is autogen. No, this is totally part of it. This is why we do these things live too, so people see. Because again, we're less than an hour, and we've got this basically in the bag. This is autogen. And why is that autogen? I don't know. Okay, whatever. Then we have text nullable, fine. And yeah, so that should be what we need there. So let me go ahead and try that. It's a possibility that I've got, relationships to the user table, which may be something it'll complain about. I don't know if it will or not. We'll just have a quick check. Oh, it worked. So we got our data inserted, and we got the specific ID back. We could create, a couple of those, and then we can do a very fast spitting this out to the page here real quick. Back over to our code. So what we're going to do is make a quick state item up here. So we'll say const orders, set orders equals empty array. And then we can come down to the bottom here underneath our button. But I just totally not worry about the key for right now. And we'll now just make that be a use effect that will set that for us.
One thing that's cool too, we're in the process of making this get token call work during SSR. So you can retrieve the token and grab any data you need during an SSR run as well. But for the next tutorial.
I just tried putting all that inside of a button handler. All right, where does that terminate? Terminates down there. All right, so we'll just copy this, paste this one up in here. And in this case, we're going to just go ahead and query the orders. We need to, oh, this is going to start to get a little bit funny. What we can do is we'll console log out the results to see that we actually have access to them, because I'll have to run an on then operator and crud. So we'll go ahead and do quick orders here. So query ID, the end of the fetch. In theory, we can do probably, let's console log out the data there. Because I have to see what the return string is. I have to import React real quick.
Yeah, we lost our Hasura token. We just need to. You can put it just inline in the fetch if you just do. Oh no, you can't because.
I don't have it. I don't have it there. Is the problem? It's unoff. It's I need to put it up underneath my use effect here.
Yeah, but we're gonna hit an await issue.
Oh, an await issue. Yeah. Can I move it outside? Can I move it to the top level scope or no?
You can do a get token then with it. It's kind of, we're gonna have to then from that as well. And normally, I guess, wrap the whole fetch in its own function that's async and then call it, but this should. You don't need d.json. You'll have the token. You can just pop open a function. I think if you pop open a function here, then you can, so let's name this, instead of D, we can name that token. And then we can call the fetch inside.
You're saying make a function called token?
No. I think you have, so yeah, pop open a function at the end of line 13 here. So open close bracket, yep, and then copy paste the whole fetch into that. Sorry, this is very very hacky now.
Oh, that's fine. Yep.
And now we should be able to, I guess it's, you called it D. You might want to call it just Hasura token instead of D. Sorry.
Looking to see where.
So line 13, you have const Hasura token equals. Just do get token dot then, so we can get rid of the const Hasura token equals.
On line 13, okay, I've got the get token, yeah, and then the dot then, and then call this Hasura token. You're saying?
Yeah, and then
so Hasura token is now my scope, which is now the one that I can use inside of my fetch.
Exactly, and we can get rid of the left-hand assignment there on 13. So just get token then. Yeah, I think that'll do it.
So we've got the, I'm not returning anything. Yeah, so we can go ahead and have a look here, what we're getting in the permissions here. So that's a problem with my query. So I'm going to go ahead and just have a quick check to see what my API says. It's order. So it's not orders, it's order. And we're just going to be optimistic here. And
go ahead and
we'll leave the console as well too, just so we see what comes back. So we've got.
Did you? Oh, you just did console D instead of console.log.
Yes, you're correct. But I also have a permissions issue.
Oh.
Which again is just going back to the Hasura side. My screen for this is really far away, so I'm kind of like squinting to see where I'm at. But I believe that I have an error. Okay. I'm gonna try and bump the font size on this editor again here. I believe I have an error, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, that's coming back. So data. Okay, so that is coming back here with data. So it's data.order. And so we can set the data.order. And then we should be able to, see our IDs there. So cool. Now if I log out, I should see nothing. Or it'll kick me out actually totally, right? So I log out here.
If you have another account you can log into with a different email address. Yeah, sign out and then do you have another Gmail?
Well, my GitHub and my private ones are different. So yeah, nice.
Yeah. Cool.
We went a tiny bit over, mostly because it was just fiddling around with data model. Because I mean, the data model, again, we pulled it in fresh. This was all from scratch. So this was just a little bit, I mean, including from the announcement times and the introductions, this was still less than an hour of getting it installed. Having it sign in and auth was within 20 minutes. So the Clerk side was within 20 minutes. Having the API was within like 5 to 10 minutes. Getting the two data models just to work together, another 30, 40 minutes on top of that. And like you actually would have everything you need here in this package to build most any modern application that you could probably want to build. Like that is kind of crazy. And and most of the time here was debugging around the edge cases that we normally would solve by having a library like React Query or something else that would handle the edge cases. So really, really powerful. I'm impressed. Clerk gets you up and running super, super quick. That's a really nice implementation.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me. And I think, yeah, we walk away from every integration experience feeling the same way of just, yeah, I've been coding for too long. I don't want to say how long, but just all of these tools, Hasura, Clerk, like everything is so much easier today, right? React and Remix and Next.js now making SSR easier. Like it is so fun to see these tools get better and just developer productivity increase. So really thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to apply for HasuraCon too. And I'm putting that out there, so you have to accept my CSP. But yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Before I let you go, I'm just noticing now, and I really apologize, chat, because there's a whole bunch of chat, and I was just ignoring it the whole streamer. So let me just see here. So, so one person built a feature called application called Proto. So it's using the exact same stack. Great. Somebody told me to use NeoVim. Thank you. Let's start sharing the JWT. Nice. So we got some Hasura prod users. Yeah, great. Some people suggesting Urkel. I apologize for missing the chat today. I went right into it. So fantastic, great questions. people into this GX. Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. Really appreciate you all coming out today and watching this show. Thanks again to Clerk for coming by. A lot of fun, super powerful stack. We'll definitely have more integrations in the future and plans in terms of how to like make stuff work and do get that CFP in, because I think our talks planner is super excited for it. So awesome. Great having you out. And for everybody else, thanks for sticking around for a little bit of a longer show today. We will do this again every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. And until next week, have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will see you at the next stream. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.